They spotted her at dawn, right along the northern fence line, a sack at her feet, her hands folded in front of her like she was praying or punished or both. The sky was silver, not yet blue, and the frost on the grass shimmered like it didn't know whether it wanted to be morning. She didn't move. Not when the wind picked up. Not when the crows passed overhead. Not when the rancher's dog barked from 50 yards off. Eli McRae was the first to see her. He'd gone out early, checking the south herd before breakfast, when the younger cattle got it in their heads to wander. He almost didn't ride that way, almost turned back. But he did, and saw her, barefoot, dirt to her shins, a grey dress too thin for the weather, and a sack beside her, cinched with a red drawstring, bulging oddly at the sides. She didn't say a word when he rode up, didn't flinch when the horse stopped short, sensing something off. Just stood there. Eli was a quiet man by nature, but he wasn't cold. He'd seen plenty of strays in his life, folk cast off from busted caravans, women sent walking by bitter men, runaways, drunkards, and everything between. But this one didn't look lost. She looked removed, like someone had cut her out of a story and pasted her here without finishing the edges. "You all right, miss?" he asked. "Nothing." "You need help?" Her eyes moved, not to him, to the sack. Then, finally, her voice. Dry, nearly cracked apart. "Please, take them off." Eli blinked. Take what off? She didn't repeat herself, just looked down at the sack. He dismounted, approached slow. "Mind if I look inside?" No response, but she didn't stop him. He untied the red string, opened the sack. Inside were 7 porcelain masks, hand-painted, child-sized. Each had a different face, a different mouth, some smiling, some sewn shut, one with no mouth at all of them worn, cracked at the edges, dirt in the lips and around the eyes. He looked up at her. Her face was blank, empty, like the masks in his hands. And then he saw it, faint marks on her own skin, faint, circular. Around the edge of her face, she had worn one of them. Maybe all of them. And someone had made her. He didn't ask anything else. Not yet. He didn't ride back to the ranch. He led the horse, and let her walk beside him, barefoot in the frost, while the wind carried the dust from the sack into the morning air. He never once looked back. The house was quiet when they entered. Not the kind of quiet that comes from being empty, the kind that feels like something's listening, watching, holding its breath. She stepped inside first, still barefoot. Eli hadn't offered shoes. Not yet. Not because he didn't want to, but because he didn't think she'd take them. She didn't seem to want anything, except to get away from the masks. He'd left the sack outside, hung it on a nail in the shed, tied it shut again with the red string, like he was afraid they might spill out and say something if he didn't. She paused in the doorway, looked around like she didn't recognize what a house was, or maybe like she remembered it too well. There were no mirrors, not a single one. Eli hadn't thought about it before, but now he realized. Not even in the washroom. He'd taken them down years ago. Some grief or superstition he didn't talk about. Something about reflections and what they don't always show, right? She noticed. Her eyes touched every bare wall where a mirror might have been. And she nodded, once, so slightly it could have been a shiver. He made her tea, set it on the table. She didn't touch it. She sat. Still didn't speak. Not for hours. He didn't push. He went about the chores, fed the horses, checked the fence, lit the stove again. All the while, she sat at that table like it was an anchor, keeping her from drifting up and out the roof. Evening came. Shadows lengthened. Only then did she whisper, almost too soft to hear. "Do you have rope?" Eli paused. "Not for tying," she added. "Just to see it. Please." He didn't ask why. He brought her a coiled line, old and rough from years in the shed. She touched it with 2 fingers. Not like she was afraid. Like she was remembering something. Her hand shook. "Someone used this?" she asked. "Not that one. That's just fence line," he said. She nodded. "I can still feel it," she said, "even when it's not there." Eli sat down across from her. The stove crackled. "There was a church," she said, after a long time. "Not a real one, just a building. They called it church." "Who did?" She didn't answer. "They put the masks on when they prayed," she said. "Said the soul would hear them better if the face was right." Her voice was flat, tired, not angry, not even scared. Just done. "They said my face was wrong." Eli didn't know what to say. He watched her fingers twitch against the wood grain of the table like they were looking for something they lost. "I was the last one left," she whispered. "The others got too old, or too loud, or too something." He wanted to ask what happened to them. He didn't. "I stopped speaking so they wouldn't know what I was thinking," she said. "But they always knew. They said silence could lie too. So they made a new mask." She didn't cry, but her throat worked like she was swallowing down stones. "Do you have a mirror?" she asked, voice small now. "No," he said. "Not for a long time." "Good," she whispered. "I don't want to see her." "Who?" "The one they said I was." Outside, the wind picked up. The sack in the shed rustled softly, though there was no breeze inside. Eli stood, threw another log on the fire. "You're safe here," he said. She looked up, and for just a second, her eyes flickered like maybe she believed him. Then she said, "They're going to come looking." And Eli, without a pause, said, "Let them come." Eli kept the sack in the shed, high on a shelf, behind an old saddle and a coil of chain no horse had ever needed. But the masks didn't stay quiet. They made no sound, not really. But he could feel them. Like heat without fire. Like breath on the back of his neck, even when he was alone. Every time he went into the shed, he looked at that sack and felt like something inside it was looking back, even though it had no eyes. The girl stayed in the house, slept curled on top of the quilt, never under it, never with her back to the room. She watched shadows the way most people watch windows. She spoke more now, but only in fragments. "There was one with no mouth," she said once. "They made me wear it on days I cried." Another time. The smiling ones hurt more. And once, after waking from a dream so quiet she didn't even gasp, just sat bolt upright, sweat in her hair. One of them liked to sing hymns through the holes. Eli never asked her for details, but they came anyway, piece by piece, falling out of her like feathers from a bird too tired to fly. There had been a place, somewhere up near the hills, she said, where the trees were so thick they blocked out the sun. That's where the church was, not made of stone or stained glass, but old boards and rusted nails and windows too dirty to see through. And the people there? She never called them a family, never called them a cult either. Just them. They wore the masks when they punished, she said, and when they prayed, and when they forgot who they were. Eli listened. He didn't offer explanations, didn't try to fix her. He just stayed. One morning, she came out of the house while he was splitting wood. She stood there, arms crossed, not cold, but not warm either, watching the forest. They buried the others, she said, under the floorboards. I heard them drag the planks, heard the dirt, heard the nails after, going back in. Eli wiped his hands on his jeans. Did you see them? No. She turned her face. They blindfolded me. Said the eyes lie too. He walked over slowly, waited beside her in silence. They said my silence was holy, she said, but it wasn't. It was just fear. A long pause. Then she asked, "Do you think they're still there?" "The people?" She shook her head. "The ones they buried." Eli didn't answer right away. "I think," he said slowly, "if they are, they'd want someone to remember them." She nodded. "I do. I remember them every time I try to sleep." That night, she brought the sack into the house, set it on the floor in front of the stove, untied the red string. One by one, she took out the masks and lined them up on the hearth. None of them were identical, but somehow, together, they looked like parts of the same face. She stared at them for a long time. Then she said, very quietly, "Each one was for a sin, or what they said was sin. Talking back, laughing too loud, crying, thinking wrong, touching wrong, looking wrong, breathing wrong." She paused. "There were only 7 masks," she said, "but there were so many more rules." Then she reached into the sack again and pulled out one last thing. A tiny wooden whistle, carved with birds on both sides. It was cracked down the middle, but still whole. "I stole this," she said, "when I was 9. Eli watched her turn it over in her hand. They said it was vanity, wanting to make sound, wanting to call attention. "Did you blow it?" he asked. She shook her head. "Never." Then she looked at him. "May I?" He nodded. She raised it to her lips, closed her eyes, and gave a single, low breath. The sound that came out was soft, high, and strange, almost a song, almost a cry. And in the woods, far off, something answered. Not with a whistle, but with the slow, The next morning, Eli packed the masks in a canvas bundle, tighter than before. The fire crackled. The girl, whose name he still hadn't asked, watched from the porch. "They're not dead," wrapped in a coat too big for her. "Not all of them." And boots she hadn't yet grown into. Eli didn't say, "Let them come." They didn't speak. He said, "Not until the horse was saddled." "Let's make sure they don't." And Eli looked up at her like he was asking a question without asking. She nodded. He helped her up. They rode east, toward the ridgeline, past the creek that froze over before winter even truly set in. They didn't take the main road. They took the one no one used anymore, the one that wound past the orchard with the trees that never bloomed, and the split-rail fence where the posts had begun to lean like tired men. She didn't ask where they were going. He didn't say. But when the trees started to grow taller and the light started to shift, her breath shortened. "It's this way," she whispered. Eli followed her hand. She pointed to a break in the tree line, a narrow, sloping path of flattened leaves and broken twigs. They dismounted, left the horse tethered to a branch, and walked. The forest had a hush to it, not silence, but something deeper, like sound had forgotten how to exist here. Every crunch of their boots felt like a shout. Then they saw it. A shack. More rot than wood now. Roof half caved. A porch slanted like it was shrugging. "This was the school," she said. He looked at her. The church was further back. But this is where they kept us. Us. First time she'd said it like that. She walked ahead, stopped just shy of the porch. "They made us line up out here," she said, "in winter, barefoot. Said pain helped the soul hear clearer." She bent down, brushed leaves away, found the boards, thin ones, warped with time. Eli stepped forward. With the back of his hatchet, he pried one loose, then another, and another. Below the third, they found a small bundle. Bones, child-sized, wrapped in a grey cloth. She didn't cry, not right away. Just sat back on her heels and looked at them, then whispered. Her name was Liddy. She helped him dig. They found 4 more, all carefully placed, all wrapped, all forgotten. When they'd cleared the space, Eli set the masks down one by one beside the tiny graves. Then he lit the fire, not a blaze, not a bonfire, a clean fire, built from dry wood, fed slowly, respectfully. He placed each mask into the flames. The girl, no longer just a girl, but someone carrying the names of others, spoke low as they burned. One name for each: Liddy, James, Ruth, Eliora, Thomas. When the last mask cracked in the fire, she said, "Mine was never burned. I gave it up. That means I still remember." Eli didn't speak, just waited until the fire became ash. When they walked back, they didn't speak either. Only when the horse came into view again did she say, "I'm not afraid of being quiet anymore." He looked at her. "Why's that?" She smiled, just slightly. "Because now I know someone hears me."